If you've entered the USA and are applying for employment authorization along with your adjustment of status, I thought I'd create a step-by-step tutorial on how to fill out the I-765 form, Application for Employment Authorization. Form I-765 allows you to apply for a work permit in the USA, allowing you to work legally while your immigration case, such as your adjustment of status or green card, is pending approval. In this video, I want to cover how to fill out the form, all the supporting documents that you're going to need to include with your application, how to assemble everything together, where to mail the application, plus include as many tips and pieces of information as I can throughout the video to ensure that your application is approved successfully. Our green card was approved in only 5 months, with no interview needed after my husband entered the USA on a K-1 visa. So I hope this tutorial helps in filling out the I-765 form for family-based applicants. We do have a full tutorial and walkthrough on our channel as to how to assemble the entirety of the green card adjustment of status packet. But in this video, I'll solely focus on the I-765 application as well as its supporting documents. Here are some key points. The I-765 form is optional to submit to USCIS and costs $260 to submit in order to work in the USA while waiting for your green card to be reviewed and approved by USCIS. The form filing fee is originally $520 for a paper-filed form that is mailed to USCIS. However, in this case, I'm assuming that, like us, you'll be mailing it in along with your I-485 adjustment of status form. So USCIS offers a reduced filing fee of $260 when it is filed by mail at the same time. It is not a mandatory required form with your I-485 adjustment of status packet in order for you to obtain your green card. The I-765 is basically a form requesting permission from USCIS that gives you approval to work in the USA after entering on a family-based visa, such as the K-1 visa. Without employment authorization, you cannot begin working in the USA, nor can you work remotely for any company until employment authorization is approved or your green card has been approved. Let me walk you through the form. Just as a note, this is how we filled out the application as two individuals who have never been married before. Neither of us have any children, nor have any prior criminal records, so you may want to adjust your form and documents that you are submitting accordingly if anything different applies to you. The form can be downloaded on the USCIS website, and there is a document titled Instructions that also provides guidance on filling out the form and aspects that you may be unsure about. The first thing to do is to make sure that you're using the most current, up-to-date version of this form. The form must be filled out in black ink and can either be filled out by hand or typed in. Just remember to sign your signature on this form by hand. This form is to be filled out by the non-US citizen, i.e. the beneficiary or applicant who is requesting employment authorization. My now husband and I filled out this form together when applying, so I'm going to demonstrate how we filled out the application for him to gain work authorization. At the top here, you're going to leave this box blank, as this is for USCIS use only. We're going to start at part 1, where it says Reason for Applying. We're going to select box 1A. I am applying for initial permission to accept employment, as this is our first time applying for work authorization in the USA after entering on a K-1 visa. Part 2 asks information about you, which once again is the non-US citizen, i.e. the beneficiary or applicant who is requesting employment authorization in the USA. So for question 1, I've typed out my husband's last name, first name, and written NA for middle name. Just remember to write NA instead of leaving any fields blank. It's not mandatory to do so, however, it does provide clarity to USCIS that you have explicitly indicated that you've considered the question and determined that it doesn't apply to you, rather than you accidentally overlooking it. If you've changed your name, for instance after marriage, and intend to take your husband's last name, you can enter your new married last name here. and you'd enter your previous or your maiden name in the next question. Question 2 asks other names used, including aliases, maiden name, and nicknames. So here is where you can enter your maiden name, i.e. your name before marriage. In our case, we've just written NA. Boxes 3A through 4C allow you to enter any further additional names that you've used. Question 5 asks for your current mailing address. So here I've written our address here in the USA, including the state and zip code. Question 6 asks, is your current mailing address the same as your physical address? Ours is, so I've checked the yes box. If you do answer no, then question 7 is where you would type in your current physical address, i.e. where you're living if it differs from the address stated in question 5. Ours is the same, so we've just typed in NA into all of these fields. Question 8 asks for your alien registration number. So your A number can be found on the NOAA 2 receipt that you received from USCIS saying that your case was approved for a K-1 visa. Sometimes it's hidden away next to the beneficiary's name on the NOAA 2 and should begin with the letter A, followed by a series of numbers. Question 9 asks for your USCIS online account number. You can type in NA. Once you submit this form, along with your I-485 form and adjustment of status packet, USCIS will issue you an online account number, which then allows you to log on to the USCIS website and access your online account. Question 10 asks whether you're male or female. Question 11 asks for your marital status. So we're going to check the married box as we're filling out these forms after having entered on a K-1 visa and having gotten married. Question 12 asks, have you previously filed Form I-765? This is our first time applying for work authorization, so we're going to check the no box. Question 13A asks, has the Social Security Administration ever officially issued a Social Security card to you? If you've been issued one before, you're going to check the yes box, such as if you came to the USA on a J-1 visa or a student visa at any point in time and were issued a Social Security number. Suraj has a Social Security number, so I've checked the yes box. However, more than likely you may not have been, so you can check the no box. Question 13B asks you to provide your Social Security number here. So I've just typed in his Social Security number. Something to bear in mind is that your Social Security number never changes, so this will always remain the same regardless of the circumstances. You can type in NA if you do not have a Social Security number. Question 14 asks if you'd like to be issued a Social Security card. You will check the yes box here. If you have not had a Social Security number before, you'll need to select yes so that USCIS can issue you one on their behalf. And even if you have had a Social Security card previously, I would highly suggest checking the yes box so that a new one can be sent to you with your up-to-date name and a card that shows that you're fully authorized to work in case your previous card reads valid for work only with DHS authorization. Similarly, if you need a replacement card, you check the yes box here too. Question 15 asks for your consent for disclosure, and you're going to check the yes box for the Social Security Office to use your details in order to issue you a Social Security card. Question 16 asks for your father's name, so I've entered that in the box here. Just to reiterate, I'm filling this out with my husband, who is the non-US citizen, so this is his parents' information that I'm putting into the form. Question 17 asks for your mother's name. Question 18A and 18B ask for you to list all the countries where you're currently a citizen or national. So for 18A, we've typed in United Kingdom, as this is where my husband is a citizen from. In 18B, we wrote NA, as he is not a citizen in any other country. Question 19A asks for you to write the city or town in which you were born, so I've typed in London. Similarly, question 19B asks for the state or province of birth, so I've typed in London. Question 19C asks for the country of birth, so I've written United Kingdom. Question 20 asks for your date of birth. Just remember to write this in US format with the month, day, and year. So I've written his date of birth as 05/10/1991. Question 21A begins to ask questions in regards to your last arrival into the United States. So it asks for your most recent I-94 arrival record number. This can be found and accessed on the CBP website, which I'll leave a link to in the description box. You're going to log on to the CBP website and click on Get Most Recent I-94. Once you've filled out the fields with your information, it will generate your most recent I-94 record, in which it'll show your admission record number. Question 21B asks for your passport number from the passport that you use to enter the USA, and this can be found on your passport. Question 21C asks for your travel document number. This doesn't apply to us as we applied via a passport and K-1 visa, so we typed in NA. Question 21D asks for you to write the country that issued your passport. So in our case, it's the United Kingdom, and you can just type in the country where your passport originates. Question 21E asks you to type in the expiration date of your passport. Once again, just remember to write it in US format with the month, day, and then year. Question 22 asks for the date of your last arrival into the United States. If for any reason you can't remember the date, it will also be listed on your I-94 record. Question 23 asks the place of your last arrival into the United States. So we've typed in Orlando, as this was his first and only point of arrival into the United States. Question 24 asks your immigration status at your last arrival. So we typed in K-1 fiancé, as my now husband entered on his K-1 fiancé visa. Similarly, for question 25, we typed in K-1 fiancé, as it asks for your current immigration status when applying for this form. Question 26 asks for information regarding the Student and Exchange Visitor Information System. So we just typed in NA, as this doesn't apply to us, nor will it to you if you entered on a K-1 visa. Question 27 asks for your eligibility category. So we typed in C9, as per the USCIS instructions, which say, if you have a pending application for adjustment of status, you should file under category C9. We are applying for employment authorization along with our adjustment of status, so we fall under category C9. Question 28 does not apply to us, so for question 28A through C, we typed in NA. Question 29 to 31B also do not apply to us, as our eligibility category was C9, and not those listed in the questions, so we just wrote NA or checked the no boxes. Part 3 asks for the applicant's acknowledgement that they can read and understand English and have read and understood every question, so we checked box 1A. Question 3 asks for the applicant's contact information. So for question 3 and 4, I've entered in our contact number, and for question 5, you're going to type in your email address. You can ignore question 6 here. Question 7A asks for your signature. Just remember, this must be signed by hand in black ink and not typed in. As per the USCIS instructions, USCIS will not accept a stamped or typewritten name in place of any signature. Also remember to include today's date here too in US format for question 7B. Part 4 asks for the interpreter's contact information. We can just leave this blank or type in NA as we are filling this out by ourselves. Similarly, we can also leave all of this blank or type in NA as we're not using an interpreter nor a preparer to fill out this form. Part 5 on this page here can also be left blank too. Part 6 is the additional information space page, and if you did need to write any information where there wasn't enough space to do so on this form, it can be entered here by referencing the page, part, and item number. Even if you didn't use this additional information page, you should enter your name here in question 1 and include your A number here in question 2, as it is still part of the application form. So that's the I-765 application form complete. As per the USCIS instruction guide, there is a list of evidence that is required for the I-765 application form. So let me run through all the supporting evidence included with our application form. Firstly, we included a copy of the applicant's passport page. The USCIS instructions do state that you must submit a copy of a government-issued identity document, such as a passport, showing your picture, name, and date of birth. As you can see on the top of every single page, we included my husband's name and A number, as well as a short title to describe the document that we're submitting. For example, copy of passport biographic page. I'll leave a link in the description box to this template that we created to compile our entire adjustment of status packet in order to keep it neatly organized and coherent to match up to USCIS standards. According to USCIS guidelines, it's useful to list the applicant's name and A number on the pages in case they get lost or misplaced, which is why we made sure that we included it on every single page that we submitted. Next, we included the beneficiary's birth certificate, and these are all just scanned copies, as USCIS does not require original documents. Although the birth certificate isn't specifically required for this form, I wanted to show you everything that we included, and furthermore, as we filed the I-765 application along with our adjustment of status application, we readily had all these documents on hand, and we wanted to submit more documentation than was required in order to avoid receiving any RFEs. If you do have a copy of your Social Security card, you can attach a copy of this. Next, we included a copy of the I-94, which was downloaded from the official I-94 CBP website. Once again, you can see we've clearly titled the supporting evidence that we're submitting. It was our intention to submit everything as organized as possible in order to make the application as easy to read and process for USCIS. We then included a copy of the K-1 visa with a stamp of admission. On the next page is our copy of the NOAA-2, i.e. our approval notice for the I-129F petition. This was followed by a copy of our NOAA-1. Next is a copy of the K-1 FTP NVC letter for the I-129F petition. We then included a certified copy of our marriage certificate. It is also required that you submit 2 identical color passport style photographs of yourself taken recently. On the back of each photo, we wrote my husband's name and A number lightly in pencil, and then we put the pair of photos into a Ziploc bag to avoid them getting lost or damaged. We then clipped this to our document once we printed everything out. Additionally, we did include the G1145 form, which is downloadable on the USCIS website. By completing this form, it allows you to receive notifications by text and email in regards to your application. We received a text from USCIS when our application was received by them. It took approximately 1 week to receive a text from USCIS that they had received our case, and the message also included our receipt number within the message. This is completely optional, but I thought it would be worth mentioning. Once we printed out everything on top of our application, we wrote and included a cover letter, which you're welcome to use as guidance for your own application. And we've highlighted aspects that need to be changed to suit your own application. We emphasize that this is our application for employment authorization and that we're filing under category C9, and we are concurrently filing this with Form I-485, i.e. our application for adjustment of status. We then listed all the documents that we're including in this packet in bullet point form. As I mentioned earlier in this video, it costs $260 to apply for travel authorization concurrently with Form I-485. You can make payments to USCIS by a credit card payment. However, we decided to use checks as from our research, a lot of people were getting denied due to the bank thinking it was a fraudulent transaction, thus resulting in USCIS sending back people's applications saying the payment was declined, leading to a further delay in processing. USCIS was very specific in their guidelines on how to write out the check, so here's how we wrote ours out. In the top right-hand corner, you're going to write today's date and write the month, day, and year in this format. It should be made payable to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. This check should be written out for $260 in numerical form, along with the wording as displayed on the screen. In the memo section, you should include the name of the application form that you're submitting. So in this case, it's the I-765 form. You should also add the applicant's name and a number 2. And then this check should be signed by hand. These checks should be placed on the very top of your application. I decided to create a checklist that you can use as a reference to make sure that you've included everything into your packet, and I'll leave a download link to this in the description box. When we submitted our application, we assembled our adjustment of status packet into 3 documents, which we submitted together as one large document. We didn't use separate folders nor create anything fancy with different folders or tabs. We just wanted to keep our packet as simple as possible for USCIS and therefore printed title pages as well as used easily removable binder clips. Each document packet includes a check made payable to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, as well as 2 passport photos of the applicant. We then put all these documents into one big envelope and mailed it to USCIS via U.S. Postal Service. If you're applying for employment authorization along with your adjustment of status, it's mailed to the same location as your adjustment of status packet. To locate where you should send your adjustment of status packet depends on which state you're located in. To find out where to mail your application, you're going to go onto the USCIS website and find the lockbox filing location chart for family-based forms. So for example, we mailed our form via U.S. Postal Service to the Chicago lockbox because we're based in Florida, and it cost us approximately $15 to mail this off via U.S. Postal Service. I'll leave links to the USCIS mailing addresses in the description box, as well as any other links that I've mentioned in this video too. I hope you found this tutorial useful, and hopefully I managed to cover all the relevant information. Again, this is how we submitted our application, and some aspects may differ based on your circumstances, but I hope it gives you some guidance. As always, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them.